Joining us now from Capitol Hill, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California is a senior member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. What are you learning? Because I know you're well plugged in, you're getting briefed. What are you learning about these two suspects? Could you share some details with us?
Well, I don't know whether I can share details, but I can tell you we did get briefed again today. We do have information about these two brothers, some preliminary information about possible affiliations. And I can say this also, Wolf, that is, if you look at some of the public reporting, one of the witnesses claimed that one of the assailants said that he was associated with AQAP. If that turns out to be correct, it represents, I think, a very serious diversification of the tactics used by AQAP. They put a lot of focus, for example, on bomb making, on trying to develop new ways to smuggle explosives on aircraft. This will be a very different kind of attack. Obviously, we'd like to find out whether there is an AQAP association, and if so, whether they were instructed to undertake the attack in this way, or this is something they decided to do merely because they were inspired by AQAP or some other organization.
AQAP, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, that's the Al-Qaeda branch in Yemen right now. And you say that there's no previous experience of AQAP, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, actually recruiting individuals to go back to their home countries and commit a terror attack as the one we saw yesterday?
No. In fact, quite the opposite. They have tried to recruit people, and they have encouraged people to go back to the countries of origin. But most of the focus, most of the predominant risk the United States and Europe has been in the effort to smuggle explosives on aircrafts. They have some of the preeminent bomb makers in the world. We haven't seen them successfully recruit people for a kind of a military-style assault like this in Europe or the United States, thankfully. So this would be, I think, a different kind of a terrorist attack for AQAP, certainly different in its degree of sophistication and success. But no, for some time they have been interested in recruiting Westerners and sending them back for attacks like this.
We also know that these two brothers, at least one of them, spent some time in jail. Do you know whether, in fact, they both or one of them was in Syria or Iraq or Yemen or someplace else and got some specific training?
I don't think we know definitively yet whether either of the brothers traveled to Syria or Yemen. That's obviously something that we're desperately eager to find out. And I'm confident we will get to the bottom of that in fairly short order. Obviously, if that's the case, it would be some of our worst fears materialized about foreign fighters coming home. We already saw that in the attack in Belgium. So that's something of very keen interest to all of us, particularly when you consider that they do appear to have some kind of military training. And the question is, where did they get that? And if indeed they were able to train themselves purely domestically within France, that would be a very different kind of a concern.
Do you know if this terror attack against this policewoman in the southern suburb of Paris today is linked to what happened yesterday?
I don't know definitively whether there's a link or not. And of course, even if none of the same players were involved in that attack, it could be a situation where someone was inspired to commit that kind of murderous violence against the police officers as a result of what happened within 24 hours earlier. So there may be a connection even if the two are not related to each other very directly.
CNN has been reporting that the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, various intelligence agencies here in the United States have been scrubbing their databases, evaluating high-priority potential targets here in the United States in light of the attack in Paris. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think that's exactly right. We're scouring our intelligence for a couple purposes. Certainly to see what we know about all of the suspects that the French have alerted us to, whether there's some intel that we have that we can provide to the French that assist them in finding other co-conspirators that may be out there. That's the most immediate priority for France. But for us as well, we want to look and see who are potential candidates for this kind of a homegrown attack, if it's homegrown. Who are some of these? We've talked a lot about lone wolves. These are known wolves. The Tsarnaevs were known. These brothers in France were known. Some of the assailants in Canada and Australia were known. So we may be looking also for those that are on our radar screen, but where we want to bring our attention back to make sure that we're not subject to an attack like we saw in Paris.
Any indication the U.S. is getting ready to raise its threat level?
I haven't seen any indication of that, and that won't take place unless we get very specific intelligence about a threat to the country. The fact that there's been a successful terror attack somewhere else, or even a terror attack in our own country, unless there are indications that it's part of a broader plot, or there's a very specific, time, place, and manner indication of an attack, I don't expect we'll see a change in the terror level.
Adam Schiff, Democratic Congressman from California, member of the Intelligence Committee. Thanks, Congressman, very much for joining us.
Thanks, Wolf.
European